So just an hour or so to go, probably less now, till the first qualifying race, Nathan, isn't it, of the 2011 World Championships here at Belmont. You're going into this event pretty much as the favourite. You had a great regatta just a couple of days ago, didn't you, here for the Australian Nationals. Now, this won't be the first time you've gone into a regatta as the favourite, I'm sure.
Yeah.
How do you kind of work the kind of psychology of that? Are you kind of thinking, yeah, it's cool to be the favourite because that means I'm the guy to beat, or is it just a little bit more pressure than you want?
I don't really think about it that much. I just go out there and sail, and sure, being the favourite has some pressure on it, but it also gives you a lot of confidence that everyone's trying to beat you. So you feel like you're a step ahead of everyone else, and hopefully it's up to them to catch you and not for me to stuff up more or less.
And do you feel that in that favourite position that people maybe actually end up giving you a little bit of space? Do they kind of go, oh, I don't want to start right alongside to lure to this boat? Or does it work in can you do that in Moths, or is it all happening too fast?
It all happens pretty fast in Moths, but I guess a lot of people do give you a bit of room, but having said that, the guys in the top 10 don't give you any room at all. So it sort of has its advantages and disadvantages, but usually I just try to stay away from as many boats as possible on the start line, because if you can get the boat up to full speed straight away, then you're only worrying about like 20 boats, whereas if you're stuck with other boats, you're fighting everyone.
Yeah. And there's obviously 100 boats, although we're divided into two for today, aren't we? So effectively you're in a 50-boat fleet.
Yeah.
Now, of the other kind of main contenders that you'll be sailing around with today, this regatta in Lake Macquarie, this style of boat, you know the boat well, you know the area really well. How would you divide up, would you say, the issues of boat speed versus the tactical job you've got to do here?
I'd say in the Moth, boat speed's probably about 80% of it. If you don't have boat speed, you don't have a chance. And then probably 15% of it's probably boat handling to execute all the manoeuvres, and then the 5%'s about making the right decisions. And at the end of the day, when you get to the top of the fleet, the top 10 have all got the boat speed, they've all got the handling, and it's those 5% decisions that make the difference. And I don't know, the last week during the Nationals, I had really nice speed and was able to get off the line in 5 races. One race that took me about 2 minutes to get foiling, and I got back to an 8th. So it's just about making sure I get clear starts,
yes.
And being in the top group at the first mark, and with the wind being a bit stronger today, and I think for the next few days, I think starting will become a bit easier because it's not as critical to push the starts as hard.
Absolutely. Now, you're relatively new to this class. Obviously, you've put a lot of hours in, but you haven't been in this class for that long. In terms of the specific skills that are required to go from, let's say, being a top 20 Moth sailor, which is a pretty high level of competence, clearly, to being a top 3 or 4, can you maybe just describe one of those things, or one of those techniques, or one of those issues that, if you were maybe coaching someone who's a top 20 sailor, what you'd say, this is something you really need to think about?
I guess boat handling is really important. If you don't have good boat handling, then you can't convert any speed that you have into good results. And I talked to Amac a bit about that, and he always says how he's got bad starts and bad tacks and all that, but he still manages to get top 5 somehow. So he's obviously going really fast, yes. And I think he uses his speed quite well to make those differences. But I think for myself, the main thing that I try to focus on is trying to work out what mode to sail when sailing. I've got the handling right, I've got the, once you get your tack sorted and your jibe sorted and the speed's pretty good, you need to work out if you want to go high and, high and pinching it, or you want to go low and faster next gust, and that's where the big changes are from, I think, the top 15, 20 to the top few.
But in a Moth, do you think that those issues about which mode to be in, is this a mode as a function of a boat speed goal or as a tactical goal?
Tactical goal.
So it's just like a normal
It's just
boat
like a normal
race.
boat, but the thing is high and slow is 12 knots and tacking through like 85. Low and fast is 18 knots tacking through about 110.
That's a huge spread.
And you can basically be with someone and you just put the foot down and you go across them and you go to the next gust, it's a header, 100 metres in front. Or you can be pinching with everyone and you stay the same.
That's assuming you can tack the boat properly, of course.
Yeah, you got to have those skills to be able to execute what you want to do.
And when you're on the racetrack, how aware are you of your boat speed all the time?
I've got the GPS there, I've got the heading and the speed, basically looking at it as much as I'm looking at the wind. And you look at the wind and you go, okay, compass says I'm lifted, well, I'll just foot a bit and I'll do 16, 17 knots. Okay, now I'm on a header and okay, I've got to pinch it because I don't want to, be basically not making any distance upwind. And then downwind, the big differences are is just staying in the pressure. Like you sail, you feel like you're about to go light and you just jibe and go straight back through the puff, and then you're looking forwards for the wind the whole time. You're never looking backwards because the boat's always going quicker than the wind. And that's something that, obviously the top guys have worked out and everyone else is still trying to get their head around because most boats you're looking behind you, seeing what's coming, and
Yes.
these things you're like, come around the top mark, and you don't care what's behind you, you're just chasing what's ahead of you.
Absolutely.
And that's why the gaps between people can get so massive.
Yeah, and it's something that clearly could be an issue today. There's going to be, in these qualifiers, you're going to be lapping boats with, as are some of the other top guys. How do you handle the fact that there are going to be boats in front of you that are a lap and a half behind, and are these just like mobile chicanes, you work your way around, or do you give them a wave as you go by, or wish them luck, or?
I just give them a fair bit of room, because, you know, everyone out there is doing it tough. You know, at times it's quite a difficult boat to sail, and the last thing you want to do is go too close to someone and, you know, make, you know, an incident happen. So you give them a wide berth, and they do the same for you, and often they'll sort of slow down a bit like on the F1 course and let you go by and keep going. So, you know, it's good to see that people have got good respect for each other out there and all that. But yeah, like one thing with the Moth is they go so fast that you can go to leeward of someone and not really get any wind shadow, because they're so fast, there's so little sail area more or less. Like wind shadows aren't really a major factor, so you know, you can go above or below them, and it doesn't really make a huge difference sometimes.
Okay, last question for today. Well, I'm sure we'll come back and talk to you during the week, but what do you think is the likelihood of you doing a port tack start today?
Nor'easter, Belmont Bay, probably not very likely.
Right.
I want to go left, I think.
A little too high tariff as well, or do you
Yeah,
think
a little
you can manage
little
that?
bit too high risk on the first day. It depends. Like the reason why everyone was doing port tack starts during the Nationals on the first day was because it was light wind and pin end favoured, and to actually foil on starboard tack was very difficult.
Yes.
Because you had to almost go downwind to get on the foil.
Of
So
course.
it's easier to come through on port, duck the whole fleet, and within a minute you're leading.
Yeah.
Or if you're lucky, you might cross the whole fleet.
So in fact, in those conditions in a Moth, the port tack start's not as radical as it might look to other people.
I looked at it and I thought the high risk start was a starboard tack start.
Indeed.
The easy one was the port.
But today, unlikely that'll happen, and it is the World Championships. You know, the Zhik World starts today, so it's no more.
Yeah,
it's no more
and we've
practicing,
also
is it?
got half the boats on the start line,
Indeed.
so I'm hoping they won't make the start line half the size. They'll keep it relatively big and give us a good chance to sort of get off everyone
Indeed.
cleanly.
We said at the beginning you're the favourite, which you clearly are. Who are your main threats realistically? You know the fleet, you know the Americans, the Europeans, your own training partners here from Lake Macquarie. Just realistically, who are going to be second and third, do you think? If you're first, and if you're not first, who will be 1 and 2? So who do you see as that top 3?
I reckon Tom Slingsby is the biggest threat, followed by probably Joe Turner, Peter Burling from New Zealand, and you know, Scott Babbage is always obviously going to be up there nice and close, but I think you'll easily find 4 Aussies in the top 5.
You think the Northern Hemisphere sailors are going to struggle to adapt? Is it just the wrong time of the year for them, or too hot for them, or?
I'm not sure. Like, we've done a bit of training against them all, and you know, they have flashes of brilliance, but I haven't sort of seen any of them consistently feel like they're a threat yet.
Yeah.
And you know, we've done a lot of sailing. Like Tom, Joe, Goobs, and myself have sailed, you know, 20 times together training, and you know, they beat me as much as I beat them in all the training races.
But the evidence is the Southern Hemisphere sailors are looking good at the moment.
Yep.
Well, a long way to go. We're going to come back to you and talk to you during the week. Thanks for your time, and
Yep.
best of luck today.
No worries. Thanks.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Nathan. Cheers.